Today, we're flying the H160 again. We're going from St. George Municipal Airport to Cedar City Regional Airport in southern Utah. Stick around. Welcome back to another H160 flight. I'm Blue Echo, and I have a request. If you found this because you're looking for an H160 video, take a minute, check out some of the other stuff that I have, consider subscribing. When I'm recording this, I'm almost to 1,400 subscribers. I've noticed that probably 80% of the people that have been here watching videos are not subscribed, and I would love to break that 1,400 mark and possibly even get to the 1,500 mark sooner than later. So consider subscribing. Now that I got that cheap, shill for trying to get subscribers and stuff like that. Let me know if there's anything about the H160 that you guys want to know more about. I'm usually pretty good about checking comments frequently, and I will do what I can to answer those questions. And maybe we'll make a separate video on something that's a little more in depth. But we're in the H160. We're at St. George Regional Airport in Utah. We're going to fly up to Cedar City today. I wanted to talk a little bit about the settings that I use. I have a WindWing F16EX stick on an extension. It is a centering. It's got centering springs. I have a Virpil collective, and I have a set of Virpil pedals. So a lot of people ask, like, what's the settings that you use? Right now, I'm using SAS stability level of 0. Bringing this down a little bit kind of lowers the SAS stability. Hands on the dead zone setting, I run pretty low at about 5. You can see once I move my feet up just a little bit here, you'll see feet on, and then hands on, just barely touching it. It starts to do that. I'm running follow-up trim at hover. If you guys have questions about follow-up trim, I do have a video that explains the difference between off, hover, cruise, and both. And then AFCS override, I have dual input. Center displaced reset time is set to 2 seconds. So tail rotor control is set to centering springs. SAS stability level for those is also 0. And then I don't believe that the SAS stability level slider has any effect right now. And I don't use step size for a keyboard because that's only if you're running keyboard input to adjust your collective. So we're going to take off. We're going to fly up to Cedar City real quick. I'm going to turn the parking brake off. We've got the helicopter all started up and ready to go. We've got our flight plan loaded in, and we'll be departing kind of to the north here. So I'm going to give a little bit of collective, probably 2.5 to 3. Should get us moving forward here. A little bit of right rudder to get us steered out. The runway is behind us. Off in this direction, you can see it back there. But I'm using the HP Reverb G2 headset again for this video. I talked a little bit last time about why I'm using this over the Vario Aero, but if you didn't catch that video or you were curious, the HP Reverb G2 headset, when I stream or record videos, it's called, shoot, I can't remember the setting. It's basically like a motion dampening or smoothing. And I talked about it last time. I'd actually looked up what the setting is, and it does a little bit better. It does a lot better at, I don't know why I'm really hard left pedal, but we're not really turning. All the little head shakes from when I talk or when I'm looking around, or even sometimes the micro movements of the pulse in the headset will show up for you guys, and it's really bouncy, and it's annoying for me because I would love to wear that headset and fly. It looks great, it performs well, but from a video capture standpoint, I just can't do it. you guys would turn on the video, and if you haven't already left because it's a VR video, for those of you that are sticking around, I probably wouldn't be able to have you stay and watch because it's just too jittery and shaky. So we're using the HP Reverb G2. We will continue to use that for making YouTube and doing live streams on Twitch and TikTok because we can actually control the amount of jitter that shows up and is picked up by the headset. I hope that Vario comes out with a solution that will make that better. If anybody here uses a Vario Aero and you capture it and you're able to have some of that smoothing of the captured video without having to run your entire video through some sort of other tool to do any like motion tracking or smoothing to get those little jitters out, let me know. We are almost over to the runway here. We'll run through and make sure that everything is set once we get up here. Alright, we'll stop and hold short, double check everything, nose wheel is unlocked, parking brake is off, we need to taxi out to the runway. Gears down, we got 3 greens. Our flight plan is loaded. We should be out ready to go. We got plenty of fuel. Our altimeter is set. So let's taxi out here and take off. I have to check one more thing here. Make sure the flight recorder is on. Taxi out to runway 19. When we depart here, we're gonna loop back around and fly back past the airport and head north up to Cedar City. So let's stop here, get our park brake set. Go trim release on. I think we're ready to go. Heading in some collective. Pitch forward about 10 degrees and we will start taking off. Release right there. Let's get the gear up. Turn our landing light off. Banking pretty hard here, but I want to try and keep the duration of this video a little bit shorter, so probably cutting our loop a little shorter than I would normally. Wouldn't do this aggressive on the bank, especially if we had passengers in the back. I might appreciate a helicopter ride that banks like that, but if we're in the luxury variant of the H160, they probably don't like it. So we are going to have to climb here. I'm going to get our altitude set.
Crossing, Alt A crossing, Alt A.
Yeah, I know, Alt A crossing. So let's start with 9. I think we're gonna have to climb up pretty high here. Let's just do like 95. We'll engage that. Vertical speed should kick up. I can turn our indicated airspeed hold on. Canceled out the bug for that. Great. Obstacle. Yep. We're gonna slow down. Engage that Alt A. I think the bug's still. No, it's not where we set it. I lost it. That's alright. set it at 6. Why is it not climbing? Pick it again. There we go. Now we're starting to climb. I'm going to raise the bug back up to about 9. So we're climbing about 1,000 feet per minute. We're doing 110 knots. Probably the best performance we're going to get out of it. Nose wheel we can lock for our landing. Parking brake is set. Gear is up. And we are a little bit off course. So I'm going to throw my altitude or my heading bug on. Crank that back a little bit to the left here. Once we get back on our course line, we'll engage our nav hold. But if I kick it in right now, it's going to veer us way off to the left, and I don't want to go that far back that way. So we'll just take this heading until we intersect. Be quiet. We'll meet the HTOS too. I don't know what the system sees as an obstacle that we might be near, but there's obviously no obstacles right next to us. So, to give you an idea of where we took off from, this is the southern border of the state of Utah. St. George is the airport in the town that we just left. And Zion National Park is right over here. The Cannon Mountain Wilderness, and then Kanab is down here. I was out here on vacation not that long ago, and we actually stayed kind of right in this area. And then up here is this Bryce Canyon National Park. Label's not there. Yeah, Bryce Canyon National Park is right here. Zion is down here, and then we actually, when we were out here, we stayed up in Moab. And we went to Arches National Park as well. But I have to figure out where. So that's Glen Canyon. We did not go to Capitol Reef, but we went to Canyonlands and Moab up here. So Arches, Canyonlands National Park, Bryce Canyon, and then Zion were the 4 of the 5 that we visited when we were here. Alright, we're just about back on our course line. I'm going to switch this from heading over to nav mode. We're still climbing. 110 knots. Climbing about 1,000 feet per minute. 9,000 is probably a little aggressive, but some of these mountains in front of us are a little deceiving from a distance. Just looking at the... Let's see. I think we might be in the valley the whole time, but if our course takes us across the top of one of these mountain ranges, I want to be up high enough so that we don't have to worry about it. We can turn on SVS as well. So where we're going, it's right up in this area right here. See Cedar City, and the airport is right on the west side of the highway there. Should be this one. Cedar City Regional Airport. There's also, I believe it's Gilbert Hospital. Look, can't see. Cedar City Hospital, and then this Gilbert Development Shop. There's a Gilbert Hospital around here somewhere, but There's Garfield. Yeah. I remember looking at some of these points of interest earlier. Actually, I think 9,000 is probably going to be more than enough for us, but we're almost there, and then we'll crank our speed up to about 145. Should give us enough, should still have enough power once we're done with our climb to crank up to that
Alt A
speed.
crossing.
Alright, we'll turn our altitude, hold on right at about 9,050. The Alt A, that second time, it didn't capture it, but I've had it where you can set your Alt A and engage it, and you start climbing for it right away. But 2 different times now I've set it, engaged it, or clicked on it, and it shows what you have it set at, but the vertical speed and the Alt A will climb up to it, and it won't lock in at the altitude. But I've had it 2 times also where you do lock into it, so we're good. I'm gonna start speeding up here, and hopefully we can cut this flight duration down. It says 13 minutes right now, so let's crank our speed up to about 145 and see how that time adjusts. But if you've never been out to this area of Utah, Moab, Arches, Zion National Park, they're all awesome places to visit. I've been to Cedar City once, but it wasn't on purpose. We were actually staying on the other side of this little mountain range here. We had some vehicle trouble, and I had to go to the car dealership or the service center for the GM dealer over here. And we had gotten snow the night before, so I had to drive through about 1.5 to 3 feet of snow in some spots in our Suburban. And it's kind of treacherous. Growing up in Minnesota, I'd drive a lot in the snow in the winters, so obviously that wasn't the stressful part of it, but driving across, hills and valleys in a small mountainous, terrain type area on unknown roads added to the fun. And the reason that we had to go over there is the dashboard, all the speedometer and all the other indicators and everything had failed, so I had a completely blank dashboard. I had no idea if it was in 4-wheel drive or how fast I was going or how much fuel I had left, and it wasn't a very fun morning. But when we were out here, we had a ton of fun. We actually had to cut our trip short by a day because there was a huge storm that was rolling in from the west, and it was pushing across into Utah and was going to hit Colorado, and we had to go north from Utah up and get into Colorado and get to the other side of the Rocky Mountains before the snowstorm hit. Otherwise we would have been trapped, well, not trapped, we would have been stranded on this side of the Rocky Mountains, and all of the entire state of Colorado would have been pretty much shut down or impassable. So we needed to get out ahead of it, and it meant we had to cut our trip short, which sucked, but it's just an excuse to go back out there on another trip sometime. So I think we'll definitely go back out to visit again. I want to get up to northern Utah as well. The scenery and the terrain down here is awesome, but I know northern Utah is a different biome. It's a different, type of scenery. Park City and Salt Lake City and stuff like that. Be a lot of fun to see the differences between them. And my Rex Seasons seems to see some of the deciduous trees here and still think that it's color changing time in the fall. It hasn't quite switched over to winter for all of that, so. So it had said 13 minutes, and now that's dropped down to 6. Let's run through the page 4 of the checklist and check out stuff that we need to do. So we have not adjusted our signs. Our AFCS upper modes are good. For our descent, we'll have to, we don't need to set our decision altitude or decision height, but barometric pressure should be the same because I'm using just default weather right now. And then indicated airspeed as required. Before landing, we want to make sure our landing gear is down. Nose wheel is locked. Leave our parking brake on for our landing. And make sure we get our landing lights on. As we come into the airport up here, we're going to slow our speed. We'll see how good I can judge the distance, but you want an indicated airspeed of about 50 knots, a rate of descent of about 500 feet per minute, and then when you get down to 50 feet, you want to reduce your indicated airspeed continuously and nose up to stop the helicopter. If you do it right, you should get into a hover about 6 feet off the ground, get everything stabilized, and then you can just gently set yourself down. But we'll see how we do. So we're 13 miles away. You should be able to see it coming up. I'm actually going to start a little bit of a descent here. We'll start down to 7,800 and then adjust from there as we need to. But you can kind of see the terrain over here in the mountains. There's a little highway that runs in between this side of this short mountain range and the other side. And another funny thing about that, there's a county line that's smack dab in the middle of it. So partway through my trip, I actually had a plow truck that was clearing the roadway. And I was like, well, this is going to be great. He's just clearing everything out in front of me now. And once I had caught up to where he was and where he had pulled off and started clearing that 2-lane highway, and he got to a certain point and he slowed up and pulled over on the side and pushed some snow off, and then he stopped and he backed up and he turned around and he started going back the other way. I was completely deflated and bummed because I had to continue on this side of the county line and continue driving where it had not been plowed yet. So just when I thought I was going to luck out, he thwarted my plans. So I think I can see the airport lights blinking up there straight ahead of us. We're going to continue our descent now. We're at about 2,000 feet above the ground, 2,300. I'm actually going to switch over to heading mode, and I'm going to bump us out to the left a little bit so that we have more of a direct approach. So we'll turn off to the left here, and then I'll angle us back in as we start our approach. We will have to start slowing down here, though. But for today's flight, I think this is going to be about it. I love flying around here. I love the scenery. And I want to try and keep this video a little bit shorter. I know the last one that I put up was the stream. So it would have been like a stream highlight or an export of the stream from Twitch. And that was quite a long one, but did pretty good on views. So hopefully you guys saw that and you had a chance to see that scenery. Again, if there's stuff that we talked about in that video or in any of the other tutorial or walkthrough videos on some of the different stuff that you have questions about, let me know, because we can jump into some of those topics as well. Cover them a little bit more in depth. I'm going to disengage the upper modes now. Start slowing down a little bit and continue our descent. We'll go landing gear down. Our parking brake is still on. Into the runway here. We're at about an 1100 foot per minute descent, which we're still going pretty fast, but we'll nose up, bring the collective down a little bit so we start shedding some airspeed.
$500.
Oh, that startled me. I'm going to shoot for that second taxiway there. See if we can't pick that as our spot to come in and land. About 300 foot per minute descent right now, and I'm just trying to slow us up. We're still about 50 knots right now, so I come up on the collective a little bit so that we don't stall out and drop into the middle of the runway here, but that's our transition into hover mode, that 30 knot kind of threshold is where you kick off from your forward, flight mode into what the AFCS and the Helionics considers your hover mode. So it seems that transition has actually improved with some of the last coding in one of the recent patches. Feels super comfortable, but we'll come in here, get ourselves in a little bit of a hover. We're about 4 feet off the ground, get ourselves stabilized, and then drop down, taxi on the ground. The rest of it, turn off the taxiway there. So we're down. We can take the parking brake off and disengage the nose wheel lock. Come back up to about 2.5, maybe 3 on the FLI. Wiggle the pedals, get a little forward on the cyclic, and we should start rolling. Oh, this actually is another runway here. That's all right. probably should have shot for the first crossing, or for the first taxiway there. But now that we're on the taxiway, we can just hold up and stop here. I don't need to taxi all the way back. We'll kind of wrap things up here. Aside from going through the rest of the taxi process, putting the parking brake on and shutting down the helicopter, that stuff you guys have seen on other videos of mine as well. So appreciate you guys hanging out this far if you did. Yeah, like I said, I stream on Twitch and TikTok, and I'm posting videos on here. I haven't looked, but we were right at the cusp of 1,400 subscribers. So if you're here and you're not subscribed yet, click on that subscribe button. If you guys want to let me know any questions that you have on stuff that we could talk about in other videos, let me know. I'd be happy to dig into some of those topics, either in discussion with you in the comments, or we can make a little video about it as well. So make sure you click subscribe, leave me a comment, let me know what you thought. If you got the H160, let me know your favorite place to go fly it, because I'm always looking for other places to go explore and things to do. And if you don't have anything that you can even think of saying, or you don't have the H160 yet, leave me just a comment and say hi. I appreciate that. The engagement does matter. It helps get the video out to other people as well. So I'm going to wrap the video up here, and we will see you guys next time. Thanks. Bye.